Hi, my name is Derek Garcia. I'm 19 years old. I come from a small town on the Texas-Mexico border called Donna, Texas, but my roots are from Tamaulipas, Mexico. And I have recently decided to declare a religion major here at Amherst College.
My name is Martín Guillermo Carrera Infante. I have a estación de metro in Mexico City named after me, Martín Carrera, right by the Central del Norte. I was born in Veracruz, Costa Rica, Veracruz. Came here to the States when I was a year old, to California, and moved to Massachusetts in '86 and started my restaurant in '89.
My name is Diana. I'm 20 years old. My mom was from Durango, my dad is from Chihuahua. I grew up in New Mexico, and I'm a history and Black Studies major at Amherst College.
Chris Horace, age 20. I'm from Orange County, California, Cypress, the city, Mexico City. And my major, English and European Studies.
Mi nombre es Raúl Domínguez, tengo 18 años. En 4 meses cumplo 19 si Dios quiere. En México yo vivía en Tampico, Tamaulipas. En Texas vivo en Houston. En Amherst pues pienso pues recibirme en inglés major en bioquímica y matemáticas.
My name is Molly Gonzalez. I'm 19 years old and a sophomore at Amherst College. I'm studying to be an anthropologist and doing pre-med and learning German. I was born in Mexico City. I live in Houston, Texas now. I have lived there for 16 years. My parents are my mom's from Atencingo and my dad is from Progreso. They're both in Puebla.
The first thing I think of when I think of Mexico, I think of the land where I was born, that has given me who I am, and those notions come from how I grew up with 12 brothers and sisters, and a whole story of migration, but also of food, music, and lectures from my parents.
Well, yeah, I think good things because, I love my family and I really like my friends. But I guess, one of the other things that, crops up is, all the violence that's happened,
Quiero decir que es la geografía más que todo, pues. Vivía cerca del Golfo de México, entonces tenía la playa y los cerros tan preciosos. El cerro Bernal de Orcasitas me quedaba a 1 hora donde vivía. Pasaba ahí ocasionalmente cuando cruzaba de municipios.
Aztec calendar. I feel that it's a very prominent figure in Mexican culture just because that's where most of the ideas originated, I feel.
When I think of Mexico, I think of family, and I think that's only because growing up in Mexico I had my life revolved around family. So every Sunday it was going to grandma's house and spending time with my 11 uncles and 11 aunties. What else just comes to my mind? I think it's also mariachi music. A lot of really good food, music, lots of instruments.
I guess my views of Mexico have changed in that, when you're small, you're young, you hang out with your friends, they live in Mexico, you don't know that much about Mexico, but, as you keep going to school, you learn, different nuances of the culture, of holidays, of the politics. I guess my notion of Mexico has sobered.
It's no longer that safe, fun place that I used to go to see family members and play with cousins. It's a really, dangerous area that I guess I don't really have any notion to return to.
I think I just never really knew about Mexico, just because I had never really taken any classes and school doesn't really focus on Mexican history, and I came to Amherst and it wasn't until I came here that I started really exploring a lot of Mexican history.
Yo estaba muy orgulloso de mi país en cuanto a la formación política y cultural, y sigo estando orgulloso en cuanto a la cultura, pero al paso de los años, especialmente de 5 años atrás, empezaron los problemas En cuanto al gobierno, hay mucha corrupción, demasiada injusticia y pues no se hace nada para resolver el problema.
It's faulty, but what place isn't? I still think it's very beautiful. That hasn't changed. At first I didn't see its flaws. Like, it was just like home, and I couldn't quite understand. My actual connection to it, I feel kind of went away, but it's re-emerging. Like, now I'm sad, like, oh, I don't have as many connections to it, or I might not have in the future, because like my life has moved like to here, which I feel is very unfortunate that I didn't have that time. So.
But after my first year of college, I dropped out and I went to live in Mexico. And I lived with my cousins, and I was basically the ambassador to family events for a whole year, going to quinceañeras, funerals, and weddings. And that really made me solidly identify with being Mexican.
The few things that I do know are basically just from like having visited. I wish I knew more. I guess I would be interested in learning more, but at the same time I'm not so invested in it that I feel a need to learn more.
I think I don't know much about Mexico. I don't think most of the things I know, like about politics in Mexico or bigger issues, most of the things I know come from family members. I've gone back. I don't go back as often as I would like to. I want to learn more about Mexico. When it comes to news, there's La Jornada. There are different newspapers through LANIC that I access sometimes.
What little I do have comes from my mom and my dad. Just telling me stories, history. They're really good at history. Like, that's so ingrained. And they tell me about the festivals and like the parades they used to have. So, like, it'll come up like once in a while. Like, we'll get a small history lesson at dinner. So, but I definitely should.
I know a bit of Mexico, but like anything, I feel like I can improve, and everyone can improve on their knowledge of their roots, because before you know where you're headed, like that one saying, before you know where you're going to, you have to know where you've been. And really, I feel that I would like to learn more about Mexico from people who actually live the experiences, or rather from first-hand sources. Octavio Paz.
Pues ser mexicano es un honor para mí. Es tener una rica cultura con grandes científicos, filósofos en las diferentes ciencias, en las diferentes artes relacionadas con las humanidades. También pues se me hace un ambiente muy familiar, muy unido entre pues todos los ciudadanos mexicanos. Siempre nos ayudamos los unos a los otros, excepto los de Monterrey.
I don't think that being in Amherst has changed who I am as a Mexican. I think that remains the same. I've always identified as being Mexican before being like Texan or even the United States citizen.
It's a strange thing to realize that no matter where you are in the country, like everyone shares like this similar like Mexican American identity. So I guess for that, it's really meant a lot to me to be with people who aren't necessarily from the same place that I'm from, but definitely have a similar experience in terms of growing up here.
First of all, realize I don't live in Mexico. I live here in the United States, and so for me, being Mexican is one, letting people know who I am and how I come to make decisions and how I live my life. And with the majority probably being because I'm Mexican, but yet at the same time also coexisting with all kinds of different cultures and different lifestyles that exist in this country.
I'm Mexican American. I consider myself to be American since I was born in the United States. And I don't deny my heritage. I mean, I consider the United States to be, if not the best country in the world. But but Mexico will always hold a special place in my heart. You can't deny your roots. So being Mexican for me really means being in touch with the culture of, you know, your ancestors.
Ay, no me acuerdo, de verdad, centenario 100 años después de la independencia de México o 100 años después. Sí, que no fue Porfirio Díaz el que celebró el centenario durante como 1900 algo y gastó un montón de dinero tratando como una celebración.
Formas en las que lo celebran en México, pues hay cientos de formas, demasiadas para ser exactos. En México, en la Ciudad de México, pues el Zócalo se llena tremendamente. Hay muchos festejos, el presidente sube a la catedral y toca la campana, como lo hizo el cura Hidalgo cuando declaró nuestra independencia. Entonces, pues es un momento de mucha emoción, ¿no? De muchos festejos, mucha comida, venden muchos cohetes también.
The Bicentenario, I feel, very controversial, especially what's happened so far in, you know, Mexico. You get the sense of a government obligation, a social obligation to commemorate these events because they are important events in Mexican history. They shouldn't go unforgotten. However, when you just solely focus on these events without any, I guess, awareness of what's happening around, especially in the drug war, it's sort of this festivities lose their meaning and lose their seriousness.
I haven't seen ways that they've been celebrated. I heard a little bit just because we're so in September celebrating the Independence Day, but that's pretty much it. Like, I think that part of my life is very disconnected.
We have celebrations?
Yeah.
Why should you celebrate the first birthday of your child? Why should you make sure that there's a lot of food at your wedding? Because something that is special to you should be pointed out that is special, and it should be said loudly with music, food, and fireworks. So that's why.
Si no tuviéramos celebraciones de eso, entonces nadie recordaría los sacrificios de que pues, nuestros ancestros tuvieron que hacer pues, para liberarnos de la opresión de los españoles. Se usan esas celebraciones pues, para recordar esos sacrificios y para, más que todo, celebrar.
All the things that you have to pass on the road towards a better world. So remembering things like that, remembering that fighting for things can bring some good is always a good thing.
Nada, no celebramos nada. No creo que mis abuelos y mi familia en México tampoco, no creo que celebran esos eventos. La mayoría de ellos.
A new generation is very different from another generation. You know, if you ask my kids what the significance of 1910 or 1810 is, they're not gonna know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, and even though they live with a father that is very strongly Mexican, that really I don't hand that kind of things down. You know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so for me, it's a personal one, but not really something that I think my children will have to find out who they are on themselves.
Cuando mi familia, pues, es algo muy importante. Lo celebramos aunque no estemos en México. Normalmente la mayoría de los mexicanos ya nacidos aquí casi no lo festejan mucho.
I feel it's important, at least to my friends, to my family. It's recognized, but I mean, we don't have a party. I mean, mostly, you know, this is September, I'm up here, and my parents are working, and my grandparents are working too. So there isn't really that much of a I guess, celebration.
Just the fact that we're free, that's always a good reason to celebrate.